Good morning, Nick Collier here. And today we're going to work a little bit in the jewelry department of my studio. I've got a trade going with the local restaurant, Ike's, and it's coming on Christmas, and my part of the trade is coming due, and I'm feeling a little guilty about it, so it's time to kind of, move things along here. Basically what I'm doing is for Ike's wife, I'm making a bracelet like this one. Here, we'll bring it in a little closer. Very liquid, very flexible, and in gold. And except I'm making it just a little bit different. And I'll pick this part up here. Now we've gone through the process of building the bracelet, and I neglected to film the polishing of it, but polishing is polishing. It's probably the dark side of jewelry making. But now we're assembling the pieces, and you can see that this is a little bit heavier than this piece here. You can see that, and a little bit bigger. And I kind of like it that way. Basically what we're going to do now is we're going to focus down on the table here, and we'll add some segments and show you how I adjust them and make them so that they're more fluid. Hang in there with me. Today we're going to actually have some fun. Okay, so we have a couple, maybe a dozen or so segments of each shape, and as you can see, each shape is a little bit different than the other shape. And so this one goes there. We bring this around, we want to make sure that they're facing up, because the way they were hammered with a kind of a domed hammer, which made this dish just slightly. So there's our next segment right there. Now, but the problem is that the holes need to be drilled out, which is not a big problem, but still we need to drill the holes out. I'm going to reposition you here up to the bench pen, and we will drill some holes. The hole is already there, we just have to make it a little bit bigger. And scrape all of my gold scrapings into my gold tray so that I don't lose them. And then let's bring you back down to the table, and we'll go ahead and assemble the next segments. So we've got one jump ring that's open. We start with the large one, the outside larger one. Oops, except it just fell off. Okay, outside larger one. Next one is the smaller one. Next one is the smaller one, opposite direction. And the next one is the large one, opposite direction. And that will have these guys in play. Now what we have to do is take a couple pairs of pliers, and I got one pair there and another pair here. Grab this jump ring and close the gap so that everything doesn't fall back apart. And that's pretty easy. Perfect. Okay, now comes the more difficult part, because these are all handmade, and so consequently they don't really match up the way you really want them to match up. And if they don't match up, then they're a little bit, see that one is a little stiff. And you want this to be really flexible and flowing. That's what attracts people's attention anyhow. So basically I got to kind of come in and stretch these a little bit so that the holes match up where the jump ring goes through. And you can see that one there and I'm going to bring you in fairly close to that. You can see that one's like way down, and the hole for the inside one is way up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bend the inside one a little bit more, and the outside one a little bit less. And there we go. We're matched up. Can you see that? Yeah. Now, whether they match up with the other two, well, that remains to be seen. But we can slide a jump ring in there and see if it's going to work. And the only way I can hang on to jump rings by my big mitts these days is by grabbing them with a pair of pliers. Oops. First, we're going to put the jump ring through the outside one, then the inside one. Come on. There it is. Almost. There we go. And then the other inside one, and then the other outside one. Okay, so that gives us one more segment of the bracelet. Now, this bracelet just a little bit long for Barbara, and so what we're going to do is, and I know that Adrian is just about the same size as Barbara, so it looks to me like if we put one more jump ring in here, or one more segment in here, that just might do the trick. So we've got to take 1, 2 inner ones and 1, 2 outer ones, and drill them out again. And we'll be back. Okay, starting by cutting a whole series of these little microscopic chips, we're going to weld the jump rings together so that it's one single unit. Let's bring it back to the jump rings. All right, starting with that jump ring there, and I have to use my optivisors in order to get in that close because my eyes are shot. And so basically just come in and touch just the connection with just a little bit of flux. And I get, let's fire up our torch. Okay, oxygen is no sweat. I just forgot to turn the tank on. So now we come in with a little pointer, and I can see if I can find my little pointer. It's you know, just a little. I think this is a pointer for pottery. I come in and I grab a little chip. I don't know if you can see that or not, but there's a dinky chip right on the end of that. And then come in with the torch and heat just the area at the junction of the, oh, hang on here, let's get ourselves a little bit hotter flame going here. You gotta have a micro flame going, but it wants to be pretty hot. Come on. And at some point or another, that little ball will stay. See how it's staying right there in between the junction? Now I just heat everything up until it pops. Bloop, there we go. There's one. I don't know if you saw that because I may have been in the way. I may have had my big head in the way. But we'll go ahead to number 2 and see if we can do it again. Pointer, pick up a chip. Here, maybe I'll spin you down here and you can see how I pick up a chip, because that's kind of a cool approach that was taught to me some years back. All right, let's see what we can do right there. Now, I grab myself, I just kind of heat the chip, heat the tip just a little bit, and grab myself just a little bit of flux on the tip, and then come down just, and the flux, actually that's a little bit too much flux. And the flux will, as you heat it, it will get kind of glassy, and it'll pick up the chip. Now we can go back up to the bracelet itself, come in, and this time I picked up just a little bit bigger chip because there's just a tad of a gap between this this jump ring, and I think that chip's going to be just about the right size to fill that gap. See how the chip is just sitting right on top of there, and now we just come in, heat everything up. Yep, there it goes, and it filled the gap perfectly. Well, that one didn't do too well, but it did well enough. Didn't do too well looking at it with a 10-powered optivisor, but when you just have regular eyes, that kind of mistake is not real visible. I mean, it's still solid, it's welded, it's just that it was a little squirrely. The shape is a little squirrely. Alright, we got one more, and then the jump ring for the clasp, and we're set to go. And this time, because I think we've got a bunch of gold solder on this pointer, I'm going to not put any more solder on it and just use what I've got. But that's what happens. I'm not paying attention, and I rolled that little jump ring back. So now that it's not going to work. So we got to take it back to the bench, get another jump ring, and come back. We'll be back in a bit. Okay, our piece is all welded together and all set, and you know, it turns out my wife wants this one, so and it doesn't quite fit her. These links are a little bit too big and too straight to go around her wrist. Now, they're fine for my wrist, but you know, of course, I'm not going to wear this. So what we're going to do is we're going to try a little experiment. We're going to take one of these links and drop it on top of this ball, and then put this rubber on top of that, and of course the rubber sits inside of its little metal container, and then press it down, and hopefully what it's going to do is it's going to just arch this segment over the ball itself. So let's give that a try and see what we can come up with. We just kind of put it on top of there. Well, it gave it just a bit of an arch. You see it? That one's totally flat, and that one's got just a smidge of an arch to it. But I'm thinking maybe not quite enough. Going just a little further. Now what happens is this plastic is it's pretty much the same material they use in the bottoms of buildings in San Francisco. The entire building sits on this plastic. And so when there's an earthquake, the building just kind of crushes the plastic and relieves it, and crushes it and relieves it. And the plastic has a super memory, and it also will crush and relax. So somebody came up with the idea of using this stuff, and you know how that goes. Okay, let's see, make sure we're... Yep, this is the right direction. This is going to give us the arch. Okay. Okay, that gave it a little bit more arch. The little tongs, I was worried that the tongs might fold over, but doesn't look like they are. I'm thinking that's still not quite enough arch though. So I think what we want to do is we're going to put this down, and we're going to find something else to roll this around. Something with a little bit smaller radius to it. There's a smaller V-block. There's our piece of metal. This thing should work at this point. We're going to put our there it is. Put this baby right there. Flip this. Oh. All right, drop that on top of that. Drop this on top of this. Square it up a bit. Bring it on down. We can just kind of bring her on down. See what we come up with. All right, let's try that. It's good, but I don't think it's far enough still. So let's take it down a little bit further. I think we can go right around that bend. Okay, I think that's it. That gives us a nice arch. Yeah, let's give that a try. We're going to run all of them across. Okay, that really lays against the wrist nicely. You can see that. I'm ready to take it over to Barbara and see if it's going to fit her better. So we'll be back. Well, we're rushing out the door to go to a Christmas dinner, and but I wanted to bring you in and show you how that bracelet came out. And any second now, my wife is going to walk out the door, and she's going to be in her blazing glory, wearing the bracelet. Hi, honey.
Hi, honey.
Come on up close so we can look at this. So there's the bracelet,
And it fits her perfectly. Put your arm down so it can kind of slide. Yeah, and then it fits her just perfectly. And, hey, are you happy?
This is the face of a happy girl.
All right. Happy wife, happy life.